Bob, you're old enough to remember shows like This Is Your Life and Queen for a Day. This is something like that.
I'm sailing away, set an open course for the virgin sea.
Bob, I think it's ridiculous that you're retiring. You're much too young to do that. But if you're determined to do so, we at the School of Journalism want to wish you the best, and we want to thank you for all your years of service to the school, the many students you've helped introduce to the profession, and on your spectacular career.
Bob Priddy in 30 seconds. How can one possibly say all that needs to be said about Bob Priddy in 30 seconds? 1963, the year I came to Missouri, Bob graduated with a B.J. 2000, Alumni Association Faculty Alumni Award. 2002, Journalism Honor Medal winner. Second Missouri journalism grad to become chair of Radio Television News Directors Association. Bob was elected to 2 separate terms. Recipient of that organization's Distinguished Service Award. Atlatl thrower. Aspires to play the hammered dulcimer. Author of 5 books, authority on Missouri Capitol art, journalist, historian, storyteller, raconteur, that's the same as storyteller if you speak French, news director of the Missouri Net more than 35 years, college roommate of writer Ron Powers, legislative reporter officially recognized by the Missouri Senate last month for 40 years of service, Indy race car fan, faithful husband to Nancy, 47 years so far, proud father of 2, lead player in a successful move to bring cameras into Missouri's courtrooms, explorer, mapper, discoverer of ancient Indian ruins in the West, active member of his church, member of the Missouri Historical Society Board of Trustees. And I owe thanks to one of Bob's Across Our Wide Missouri books for tipping me off to the fact there were 2 men from Missouri who became President of the United States. More than 30 seconds? Probably. Clyde, don't you dare cut it.
News on the Missouri Net. I'm Brad Farrell.
I joined the Missouri Net team on May 4th, 1992. Bob Priddy had already been at the helm of the network for about 20 years. Bob had developed an approach to broadcast writing that simplified the tried-and-true Associated Press style.
Bob was not fond of staff reading AP wire copy, so he asked us to rewrite the stories that came across the wire, make them more conversational. I couldn't type a lick. It took me 10 minutes, 5 pieces of paper, and some awful language just to type a single sentence. Bob was not a good teacher, but he was an excellent leader. It took me a while to get the hang of things, but I did the best I could to emulate Bob's approach to writing.
To say Bob Priddy is one of my mentors is too vague. Bob was one of my teachers. He taught me how to write for radio, and by paying attention to his red marks on my story scripts every day, I learned from the best in the business.
Remember the lessons. It's never over 1,000 people. It's more than 1,000 people, and it's never completely destroyed. It's either destroyed or it's not destroyed.
One time somebody put passed away in their copy. And Bob Priddy said, "Young lady, we at the Missouri Net do not use pass away. We do not use go to our heavenly reward or see our maker. At the Missouri Net, we die."
Hello, Bob, John Rooney, and a happy retirement to you. And what better place to do a retirement tribute than a building or a stadium that's over 100 years old, and that's Wrigley Field. But I wanted to say congratulations on a great career at Missouri Net. You've been a great friend, and thanks so much for tricking or convincing Clyde Lear to hire me back in the mid-'70s. I had the good fortune of getting to know Charles Kuralt, Christopher Glenn, Dan Rather, and some others at CBS. And I'll tell you, you're as good, if not better, than all of those combined. You've been a great tribute, not only to the University of Missouri Journalism School, you have been able to chronicle the history of the state of Missouri while telling its story of the state capitol for many years. Have a great time tonight, and please come see us. I've been asking you to do that for 9 years now.
When I think of Bob Priddy, I think of the competition. We both have spent most of our careers in central Missouri, and only once in all those years have we been on the same team. I must confess that in between bouts of professional heartburn and distress, I have come to admire Bob for his integrity, his independence, the quality of his stories. He really has been a standard setter on those characteristics about journalism that are so essential for professional, high-quality journalism.
When I first started at Learfield, Clyde Lear asked me to oversee the renovation of the Capitol office for the Missouri Net at the Missouri Capitol. And there was only one thing that Clyde told me. He gave me a budget, and he told me, whatever you do, don't put a couch in there. I don't want Priddy sleeping. Well, I go back to the newsroom and I tell Bob I've got the budget, ready to renovate the Capitol office, and Bob says, whatever you do, make sure there's a couch. I need to be able to rest when I'm covering the legislative session. Well, they went back and forth, and finally I went to Clyde and I said, Clyde, I know you own the company, but I got to live with him every day. Can we please have a couch? Finally, Clyde said, let Priddy have his couch.
I wanted to extend my sincere congratulations on your remarkable journalism career. The Senate press table will never be the same. How will they get along without all that snoring? Seriously, Missouri will miss your encyclopedic memory of history and your deep knowledge of state government. After all, how many reporters today can say they covered the inauguration of Governor Benjamin Gratz Brown?
I covered the House, Bob covered the Senate. We're working late at night in the Capitol office. Out of nowhere, Bob turns to me, gives his hands, he says, would you want to be anywhere else? Well, I could probably think of a couple places I'd have rather have been, but, that was the essence of Bob Priddy. Being at the center of everything that was going on in state government, in the legislature, and telling the public about it.
Bob is the consummate reporter. His writing is equal to his delivery in its absolute clarity and integrity. In a world of Ted Baxter's and Ron Burgundy's, Bob Priddy evokes Walter Cronkite and Edward R. Murrow.
Today, as I listen to broadcast news, I recall Bob Priddy's high standards and time and again conclude that today's so-called journalists at the national level could learn a lot by embracing Bob's accurate, diligent, and unbiased approach to reporting news.
During his 40 or so years of leading the Missouri Net, there really has never been a credible challenge to our integrity. That is to say that our journalistic standards under Bob's watch have always been incredibly high. In fact, anyone who's ever really done any chirping about our coverage has usually been proven out to be someone who doesn't have a lot of ground to stand on. And that's really a testament to the kind of leadership and the kind of journalistic integrity that is really at the core of Bob Priddy. Now, let me also say something maybe sort of interesting about Bob's work environment. It's really actually more like his habitat, if you will. Bob has some interesting approaches to the way that, well, you know what? I'll show you. So welcome to Bob's work area. This is Bob's habitat. You'll notice that he has available to him newspapers from the last few weeks, because you never know when you're going to need to search for something. He has a special place he keeps his drink. We're going to have the people from NCIS come in and take a look at this with their special flashlights and see what sort of strange organisms are growing there. He also has a variety of, I'm sure, state documents that are always, readily at hand because, well, it's just important to have things readily at hand.
I'm Bill Pollock, the sports director at Missouri Net. I've had the privilege to work alongside Bob every morning for the last 7 years. One thing that I've learned, he has a sweet tooth, and he has a strong affection for Girl Scout Thin Mint cookies, and he buys them by the box loads each year, and he keeps them stored away. He's got this secret area where he stores them, and every once in a while he likes to bring out a box to share with us. But I was concerned that some of the cookies that he was bringing out were a little old. Now, he assured me that everything was fine, but I had to make sure myself. I had to place a call to the Girl Scout headquarters in New York City.
Girl Scouts, I'm going to help you.
Yes, I have a question. This may seem a little odd, but we have a coworker who buys Thin Mints every year and has boxes his boxes that are from 2009. Are those cookies?
They're definitely no good.
No, they're
back then the shelf life was 6 months. So if you have any cookies that do not have sell-by freeze date at September the 1st, 2013, they are no good. His cookies, I'm surprised they haven't disintegrated. Wow. I'm glad you guys just didn't chop into them, you know?
I think this is vintage 04.
I just want to say a very personal thank you. Thank you for getting me involved in RTDNA, actually RTNDA back then, many, many years ago, more than 25 to be exact. You helped me get started in this organization, and it's been just a great, great relationship. And I will always thank you and think of you for that. So again, on behalf of all of us at RTDNA, congratulations and have a great retirement.
Remember your days pitching softballs for the team sponsored by Oscar's Steakhouse? Those pitches of yours were softer than the questions you fired at politicians. I know, because I played left field and watched many of them sail over my head. But not all of them, Bob. Remember that night you stopped a screamer of a line drive with your face? That softball remade your features in such a way that few recognized you afterwards. Look closely at Bob's face today. You can still see the lace marks.
Bob, it has been such a pleasure to know you since I first met you at that RTNDA board meeting where I was being interviewed to become the president of the organization. That was the start of a friendship that was truly wonderful and that survived many conventions, board meetings, awards dinners, and times when we just got to kick back and enjoy ourselves. Congratulations, Bob, on a wonderful career and on all the service you've given to a profession you love. I hope you and Nancy have a wonderful retirement. All the best.
I will use your own foreword in your first book to finish this up. You dedicate it to your kids. You said that your kids, that for your children to whom history is a bore, certainly history is not a bore to you, but then you said in the next sentence some very profound words. Perhaps someday they will understand that I am their past and they are my future. Well, Bob, you are a huge part of MissouriNet's past and Learfield Communications' past, but more than that, you will always be a part of its future because of the discipline and the lessons that people will learn throughout its history. So I'm going to step back behind the camera where I am most comfortable. Thank you, thank you, thank you, and I hope you all have a wonderful time.
Bob, I have great memories of the personal and professional time we have spent together. I treasure our friendship, and I wonder if someday you and I will man the corner infield positions on that great slow-pitch softball team in the sky. That would be my field of dreams. Now try not to drive Nancy crazy in your retirement.
I have trouble thinking about Learfield or MissouriNet without Bob Priddy. He has meant so much to me, meant so much to my career, and so much to me personally as well. And Bob, from Tammy, Mackenzie, and I, to you and Nancy, have a great retirement. You've earned it. God bless you.
When I met Clyde Lear, he told me Bob Priddy was the only news director in the history of the Missouri Network, a title that still stands but is soon coming to an end. My first thought was, well, maybe nobody else wants the job. In retrospect, I learned that nobody else really could do the job. No one can write like Bob. I've never seen anyone pound a keyboard with more speed and accuracy than Bob. No one can give a tour of the state capitol like Bob, not even people who've worked there for years and years. For those of you who have never been to the state capitol, I encourage you to go see one of the state's great treasures. But before you step through any door, get a hold of Bob Priddy. Ask Bob to come over and give you a tour. Not only will you see one of the state's great treasures, you will also hear one of the state's great treasures.